Mike Lubitz with me, and we have the Gambling Gourmet. Mike Mayo joined us every Friday on our Degenerate Friday program. I would imagine you've been in a lot of these coaches' press conferences where they come in to take over a job. The last time I saw this kind of enthusiasm, I don't know if you saw any of the clips, Mike, of this Mike McIntyre. He takes over at FIU, a team that won one game last year. The last time I saw this much enthusiasm, I had accidentally tuned into an episode where they had an Up With People concert on TV. I used to read the headlines in the racing forum. It was always great because the headlines were so archaic. I mean, they were just paying tokenomics to the idea that kind of like some of the public service announcements that you hear various radio stations play. I mean, they're obligated to do it by FCC regulations that were written when the Magna Carta came out. Do you really feel in your heart of hearts, having been in radio as long as you were, that the general philosophy of the radio station, go ahead and honor a commitment to do things that were beneficial to the local community? No. All they wanted to know, hey, is Zimmerman going to spill the beans on that account for the casino?
That's all I cared about. The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here on the Defo Show, returning from parts unknown. And in some new digs here. And it is kind of comical when you get something going for the first time and you realize there's a slight flaw in the plan. Because we did this beautiful setup here, having moved to the new Defo Digs, Ocean Bay Club here in Lauderdale by the sea. Fantastic. You know what? I can hear the ocean breezes going by.
Yay.
As we speak, Mike Lubitz. Good to see you, even though I can't see you because
I'm down there.
the way this thing is configured right now, it's just a little bit inconvenient. And I'm sitting on a wine rack that I believe we acquired yesterday. So the Mustang's going to be very surprised when she comes down for her 6 o'clock pop. That's 6 a.m. and says, where's the wine? No, she's not that far gone. She's good in the mornings there. Usually she told me yesterday we were sitting on a beach and she said, you know what? I didn't have a drink talking about the day before until 5 p.m. I said, whoa, there's a miracle.
That's impressive.
So hopefully everybody had a great New Year's celebration. I know we had some recorded material here on Ion Channel. It's always good to be with you on Ion Channel. As we keep saying, 2022 is going to be our year. And I don't know, so far, Lubie, how is 2022 going for you? And have you, well, you don't write a lot of checks. But have you put 2021 on any checks yet or any documents? Because it usually takes about, 10 days?
Yeah, like 2 weeks.
To peel yourself off the mat in that regard?
Yeah. So far, I've been good putting 2022. So far, the year's moving nice and slowly. We weren't here yesterday, so I got an extra day off. We did have some stuff for Believe, so if you want to check that out, After Hours had a new show yesterday, so take that in. But I'm happy to be back here, and I had a really good break, and hopefully you had a good break, and a Happy New Year.
It's weird because, you know what, you're thinking your whole life, geez, I can't wait to get out of this. What's the way out? And probably with the amount of money that I've made over the years, I probably should have enough to never have to work again. But unfortunately, Sam, I think he has a gambling problem. People always think that when there was a little federal investigation going on in my life, the first thing, they kept inferring and implying that the reason that certain financial circumstances might have occurred was because, well, you had to pay for that gambling problem, didn't you, Defo? And I kept trying to tell people, for the most part, it's just shtick. I mean, I'm not sending in like our man Sheldon Glass is, where you see these tickets on Facebook. And you believe this? He has $75,000 on Alabama to win the national championship going into the postseason. In other words, once they were in the playoff, they were plus 120.
Oh, wow.
So if Alabama beats Georgia straight up, which is that not somewhat mystifying, Lubie? It seems to me the last time we saw these two teams play, Alabama literally dominated 41-24, I believe was the final. Is that not correct? 41-24. So on what basis is Georgia favored in this ballgame? Alabama didn't look great against Cincinnati, but they kind of ground them down and proved that Cincinnati really wasn't up to the caliber of the SEC. But then again, Michigan proved that the Big 10 is not up to the caliber of the SEC. Almost said 12 there. Aren't there like, what are there, 11 teams in the Big 10 or 12? Not even sure.
I think there's like 12 in the Big 10 and there's like 10 in the Big 12.
Isn't there something intellectually flawed about the idea that the Big 10 has like 11 or 12 teams in it? What are you telling these college students?
Ridiculous.
It's insane. But no match. Wow, we were dead wrong about that game. I don't know how you felt about that one.
No, we thought it'd be close. I thought Michigan had a really good shot and the spread sucked. The spread was too low.
7 and a hook. Yeah. I mean, I would have been gladly taking the 7 and a hook in that ball game where I inclined to make that kind of wager. But you know, it's funny too, and this has been a big conversation. John Congemi is going to join us today because we weren't on the air with you guys yesterday with a live show, and we're glad you guys stuck with us. Anybody, hey, where are those guys? We were here the entire time, but we didn't get to John Congemi yesterday. And really, I mean, could there have been more? You talk about statement games. The statement, unfortunately, is the same statement we've been getting from the IRS for the last 12 years. Where's my money? When are we going to get some kind of payoff with this Miami Dolphin team? 7 wins in a row going into that game against Tennessee. And if I were to make a parlay that day, you had 3 of the most cinch games that you would ever find on a ticket, in my opinion. The Giants absolutely suck. And there was no way they were going to be within 6.5 of the Chicago Bears. They get trounced. The Jacksonville Jaguars have completely checked out. There's no doubt about that. And they did a long time ago. The transition out of Urban Meyer into whoever the interim coach is there. Do you know? Do we have any idea who's actually coaching that team, the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Oh, God, that's a good question.
You would have thought that they would have gotten a little bit of a boost of enthusiasm and maybe a little bit of machismo when it came to the change. And a lot of times this happens. It can go both ways.
Daryl Bevell, the guy that ruined the Seahawks versus the Patriots. He was their offensive coordinator.
There you go. Okay. So, well, I don't know. See, I'm not as critical about that pass play as a lot of people are. The one where Pete Carroll still, he has his hands over his face still to this day, thinking, where did Malcolm Butler come from? And, you know, obviously the move was to give the ball to Marshawn Lynch. And in hindsight, sure enough, you know, that would have been the move. And they were moving the pile along the line of scrimmage. And you would have thought he would have easily walked in there for a couple of yards. But the pass play was open. It just a guy made a remarkable defensive stop there and came up with the interception. Otherwise, Tom Brady has one less Super Bowl championship. And we're only talking about 6 with this guy and quite possibly 7. But the Miami Dolphins, I mean, you knew they were going to lay an egg against the Tennessee Titans. I don't know. How much do you buy into this? I don't really buy into it. I'm curious to see what John has to say about this. John Congemi, when he joins us here, he's going to come on about 7:30 Eastern here this morning, about a half hour into the show, and be with us with DateLine Dolphins, because so many things to discuss there. And, of course, the NFL now heading into Week 18, and still some things to be decided. But the one thing that won't be in question this coming week, and that's going to make it very interesting, because I'm actually going to that New England Patriot game against the Dolphins, courtesy of our good friends at Deal Volkswagen. Have the seats for that ball game now going to be played at 4:25 in the afternoon, which will give me time to shake off the hangover from Saturday night. You know, I don't know. Would you rather just get it out of the way, sitting at 1 o'clock sun? It has been ungodly hot here in South Florida, although supposedly cooling off today. Would it be nice if it just stayed that way for like a week? This is, after all, January of 2022, and we're still having days, you know, in the high 80s here. And that's brutal to have to sit there and watch dreadful, meaningless Dolphin football. Last game of the season, you're getting clobbered at the concession stands. You have to park like 8 miles away and then schlep all the way around the stadium. And inevitably you go, and here I am, like a crying fan, Lubie. Yes, that's what we hear all the time on these shows. Why go then?
Yes.
I'm going out of Mustang's loyalty, which I respect, to the New England Patriots, because, let's face it, over the last 20 years, why were any women fans of the New England Patriots? Because of Belichick?
No.
I don't think so.
Mr. Brady.
Gronk? Yeah, maybe. You know, he could attract a certain number of fans, but because of his zaniness and the wacky nature with which he approaches life in general, and, of course, plays the game all out, it was Brady, right?
Yes.
Every woman wanted to be Giselle. And that was what it was all about. But I do respect the Mustang for sticking with their loyalty to the Patriots, although I don't know. I mean, the Patriots have every reason to want to win this game. They're still battling with Buffalo for the top spot in the AFC East. I don't know. Does that mean anything? Or are the Patriots in any jeopardy of not making the postseason? I haven't checked the little X's and
I think they
Y's.
clinched it. I think they are the ones. I think clinched the spot, just not the division.
Right. Okay. So they're going to be in the postseason, but
Yeah.
does it matter if they win this ball game then?
You'd rather. I mean,
They
you'd rather
can't get knocked out, and I would think after putting up a 50 spot last week. By the way, how do you feel about Mac Jones after he put up 50 points,
Oh, good.
albeit on Jacksonville?
I mean, the Jags are a total disaster.
Disaster. 50-3, the final there.
The
You
Jags-
can't give the Jaguars enough points in that game against the Patriots.
No.
My God. That's why, I mean, it was unmerciful what they did to the bettors when they had the Jags beat the Bills straight up in that ball game somewhere about midway through the season. One of the Bills' losses was to the Jaguars. And then, of course, you can make the equation. How weak is the AFC East when the Jaguars racked up their 2 victories against the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills, 2 AFC Eastern Division teams? Redemption was had at the hands of the New England Patriots. So 50-3, just shellacked these guys. And so that looked like a cinch on the board. And then, of course, you knew the Dolphins were going to lose. Now, do you buy into this theory at all about the whole grudge thing? I mean, do you think Ryan Tannehill is sitting there holding a grudge against the Miami Dolphins
I mean, he's been
and
better
takes
for
an extra measure of delight in beating the team that threw in the towel on him? I mean, they gave him 7 years to figure it out. It wasn't working. They did him a favor. They let him go. They let him go to a real team.
Hasn't he made the playoffs every year there? And he made an AFC Championship game, and he went and beat the Patriots, ending Tom Brady's time. Like, it's been good for him. He should be grateful. It's been great for him to leave Miami.
I would think so. I mean, it turned out very well for Ryan Tannehill because people believe he's a real NFL quarterback now, which at different times he's indicated that he is.
Yeah,
Although, he still has some of the same components and elements in his game that made you think this guy will never be any kind of big-time quarterback in the NFL. Derrick Henry. Now, how do they have a backup running back who's a reasonable facsimile of Derrick Henry on the Tennessee Titans lineup? And we're sitting here, and, it's interesting because did you start to turn the corner and maybe give Chris Greer the benefit of the doubt when the Dolphins were beating all of these schmenk teams? If you looked at the list of quarterbacks that they defeated during that stretch, it was all backups.
Yes.
It was guys that hadn't even made the practice squad in the preseason that got re-signed.
Yep.
I think even some of these guys might have played for the Heat in the last 2 games. Mario Chalmers?
Yes, great signing. People are so excited about that.
Why didn't they just dig up Pearl Washington from the grave? Yeah, we got 8 guys. Remember how I used to lie about that? You were playing in some YMCA league and you needed to have 5 guys, but you only had 4 show up for the game. Oh, yeah, we got 5. Don't worry about it. That's kind of how the Heat are playing. They lost last night to Golden State, and it seems like they're playing every night, and every night they lose like 3 more guys, including Jimmy Butler with an injury last night that Harvey Fialkoff, who is going to join us later on the show, I believe he is, and he's already written off Butler for the season. Said that that's it. Looks like he tore up a knee.
No.
But suffered some kind of ankle injury. It doesn't seem like that would be overwhelmingly prohibitive, and it'd probably be back. But they actually are playing a guy named a Guy.
Yeah,
I don't know what the
It's not a guy. His name's Kyle Guy.
Kyle Guy. Hey, send in some guy and some young guy. I mean, they're literally playing some young guy on the roster right now. So they've been depleted, but. I don't know. Do you buy into this grudge thing at all, Mike Lubitz? That Ryan Tannehill goes out on the field that day and says, you know what? I really want to beat the shit out of these Dolphins because of the way that they, I don't know, what would be the past tense of shit? Shat on me?
Yeah, shat.
That sounds like a country song, huh? I want to beat the shit out of you because of the way you shat on me. Shat on me. Call Albert. See if he'll record something for
Exactly.
I don't know how much that factors in. I mean, after this period of time, the guy has got himself another contract. Tannenbaum gave him like $100 million and then let him go. And he subsequently has signed like another extension at like some ridiculous amount of money. I think he's making like double what Tom Brady was making with the Patriots, Ryan Tannehill. And he's got the babe. That was one thing people always gave him credit for. Said, you know what, Ryan? You may not be able to throw the deep ball. As they say, you're the only guy that could overthrow Cuba in the United States. He might, right? Some of those passes But was Tannehill a quarterback when they got that Mike Wallace guy?
Yes,
Remember?
remember he needed.
That was the big move.
He wasn't going deep because he didn't have a deep threat. They went and got the best threat in football, and he was never heard from again.
I mean, this was a guy that could flat out fly. As they say at the racetrack, he could run a hole in the wind.
Yes.
And there was no way to overthrow this guy. And Tannehill invariably, would just fire one that would hit the goalposts. And off the ricochet, Wallace would have half a chance to make the catch. And then, unfortunately, why is it when guys come to the Miami Dolphins as wide receivers, with the possible exception, well, of our good friend O.J. McDuffie, but that was a previous era, so that doesn't count. Over the last 20 years, any wide receiver that comes to the Dolphins all of a sudden turns into Roberto Duran. Right? Manos de Piedro, Roberto. I mean, you can hear the introduction. All of a sudden, they can't catch the ball. Mike Wallace wasn't, a guy with a tremendous pair of hands, but it wasn't like he was Skeets Nehemiah. He gets to the Dolphins. Anytime they put one in range, he's either got the alligator arms. Yeah. Bill will take the check. Or he dropped it. It was just pure ugliness. But Tannehill's throws were unimpressive in that spot. As, unfortunately, Lubie. Did you get that?
I got it.
Tua can't throw the long ball. Is that a fair statement at this point? Is that something that we can say with decisiveness? He is not, and this comes as a great surprise to me. I thought that was going to be maybe his biggest asset. I don't know when I was watching when he was at Alabama, but did he not sling a ball while falling on his backside?
He did lots of them.
Straight up at the lights.
Yeah.
And he fires a pass that goes in between three defenders and perfectly hits on a perfect spiral 40 yards down the field. His wide receiver, who ends up winning the national championship, and almost forced Nick Saban to break into a smile. He still was bitter. He was still chewing somebody out as it came off the field. I can't believe you missed that block. It's like you just won a ball game. Have you seen a kinder, gentler Nick also lately?
You smiled the other day.
Some kind of psychotic drugs or medication? What happened to Nick Saban? Even after like a big win like he had over Cincinnati, normally Nick Saban of the past, would have come off the field. That they have some gorgeous babe interviewing him. So now, how could you diss this woman?
Yeah.
Right? No man in his right mind could look at some of these reporters that they have out there for ESPN and the various networks now and not absolutely fall in love. All of a sudden, he's on one knee like he's the Bachelor. So happy we shared this journey together. I know we beat the living daylights out of Cincinnati, but it's just nice to be with you, Laura. I mean, you could see it's a whole different Nick Saban, though, correct?
Yes.
After games and even during games, his demeanor seems to be much milder, and he's far more in control of himself than he used to be. You don't see him scowling as much. He's not ripping the head off of his assistant coaches, which you would have to say. I mean, they always say the SEC is a pro league. Look at the guys on the coaching staff of Alabama.
Oh, no, it's amazing.
They were all like general managers in the pros.
I forgot that. So you had Bill O'Brien, who was the GM. I mean, one of the worst ever, but was the GM and head coach for the Texans, who were making the playoffs.
He wasn't a terrible coach, though. I mean, he was all right as a coach until he became the GM. Yeah.
And your boy Doug Marrone, who
yeah,
was there, the Syracuse coach, then there's the Jags head coach, and he's the offensive line coach of a college team.
Right, he's got some weenie position. He's carrying jock straps out of the bathroom.
That's amazing.
Like a former NFL head coach, and a guy's on like 6 big-time head coaching jobs on the college ranks, and is known as just a real hard-ass, hard-line, a real football guy. And he's your assistant offensive line coordinator, not even a coach. Incredible. So, that was always one of the conversations about the University of Miami, that they couldn't afford these kind of big-time assistants. And I guess, that's about to change, what we shall see. But who has anything along the lines of the staff of Alabama? I'm looking at this Bill O'Brien and thinking that guy was coaching the Texans, head coach.
Yes.
What do you mean? Success.
Sark was, before he became offensive coordinator, they kept Sark on for like 2 years as an analyst.
Yes. Just out there. I think that was a pretty good call. Okay. Sarkeesian.
Like, what? Okay.
Well, why don't you get another head coaching job and get the bleep out of here?
That's amazing.
Like, you always need somebody's advice, so that's great. Anyway, good to be with you here on Ion Channel, the Defo Show. Glad you guys caught us here in 2022. John Congemi's going to join us, and we'll go DateLine Dolphins with John Congemi from about 7:30 to 8:30. Then we'll catch up with Harvey Fialkov, all excited about a zillion things that are going on in the sporting world. There was a lot of spectacular stuff happening. Here's one thing that struck me, and I don't know, did you get a chance to watch any football while you were out there in the mountains of Tennessee or wherever you were?
Carolina. I was in Asheville, and I still found a way to watch football. You know me.
How'd you do it on your cell phone? I mean, were you
Yes,
getting
a lot
reception
of
there?
cell phone. A lot of cell phone. I did. Oh, my phone didn't work for shit there, but we had Wi-Fi, so I did a lot of cell phone watching. It was not. I'm not proud of it, but it happened. I got it done.
Two great games. I used to look forward to January 1st, right? I mean, you're
Yes.
knocked out from going out on New Year's Eve. I had a very nice New Year's Eve at the wonderful and a Mike Mayo tout, the Cafe Seville. I've loved
Yes.
this place forever. It was absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Joey. And what's great when the owner of a restaurant comes over to your table and, you think he's going to say, well, how are the appetizers? What we're doing? Hey, Joe, bring these guys a cocktail on me. All I ever hear from Joey is, wow, we had it today. The Pick 5 at Gulfstream. And I said, Joe, do you go around to every table and reveal the fact that you just won 9 dimes on a $30 bet at Gulfstream Park in the afternoon? But you have to have great respect for that. When I hired my accountant, the great John Casbar, the first thing I noticed was as he was looking at his computer screen, and I'm thinking, oh, he's probably got all its delinquent tax information on me and all kinds of crazy stuff and the results of audits. He's got the entries for Suffolk Downs. He says, you know what, Deef? I got one in the third. Said, you're hired. Been with me ever since. Kept me out of many a jackpot. John Casbar, if your financial credibility is a little bit shaky and the people in the government are thinking perhaps you're not paying entirely your fair share, Mr. Trump, you can go ahead and hire this guy, and he'll take care of everything for you. Not that he does anything, that's out of bounds. I mean, stays very much within the parameters of the rules. But just like we talk about with NFL coaches, you need to know all the rules.
Yes, you do. That's very
You
true.
need to know that the whatever it was act, the Barnes versus Smith Act of 1922, allows you to deduct everything, including toilet paper, from your taxes every year. So, if you need a guy with information, he would be the guy there, the great Johnny Caswell. John Congemi has all kinds of information. His presence on the show brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Very excited. We're going to be heading down there pretty soon and have a nice little session at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill with Jimmy Johnson on board. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. And what a great, relaxing place. John's going to have a lot of thoughts about the Miami Dolphins, no doubt, and the rest of the National Football League. Some fascinating stuff. Had you not thrown in the towel on the Arizona Cardinals, and did you not
Yes.
immediately think when they went against Dallas, whenever the experts start converging on a thought process, oh, yeah, Dallas, they really have it together this year. 4 weeks ago, you guys can pull up the shows from the archives. We had any number of experts. And then on our Believe podcast, we had 4 or 5 different analysts tell us that, oh, yeah, the Cardinals, they're for real. I mean, what you're seeing, Defo, is nothing like, and it wasn't like I was saying that they weren't. I just hadn't seen enough of them to think that all of these results were justifiable by some foundation in truth. And, it turned out that they go off, on a 3-game losing streak. Then everybody's anointing Dallas. Well, they're the team to beat. The road to the Super Bowl is going through Dallas here. Jerry Jones really has it together this year. And his son, what's his son's name? Like Jimbo or something? Jerry Jones. No, the guy, Stephen Jones.
It's Stephen Jones. Yeah. I'm like Jimbo.
Wow. I mean, did you think for so many years that, thank God, like James Dolan, he's in the inheritance business? Because, he seemed to be doing a bozoic job in the front office there for the Dallas Cowboys. They were always stymied by getting in their own way and then handing out ridiculous contracts, hiring dumb coaches. Is Mike McCarthy, was that Super Bowl? Wow, Aaron Rodgers. He must really be great. I think they should skip the 5-year hiatus to go to the Hall of Fame with Aaron Rodgers and just put him in right now because he won a Super Bowl with Mike McCarthy as his head coach. You have to be kidding me. You talk about dropping anchor. But, yeah, I mean, the Cowboys were supposed to be the ascendant team. They were getting it all together. Dak Prescott, he's a very likable personality. I mean, you could be rooting for Dak Prescott even if you hate the Cowboys.
Yes.
I find myself, seeing him as being a very engaging individual after watching him on Hard Knocks. I have great respect for Dak Prescott and the effort that he makes to go out there and play professional football at a top-notch level. But, of course, one team's, crashing and burning, the Arizona Cardinals, and Kingsbury's going to, become an assistant at USC. And, when Lincoln gets together with Kingsbury. And then they lose. Yes. Arizona puts it together and really kind of dominated that game. I know it was only a 3-point margin at the end, but it seemed to me that Arizona was in command of that game. So many things happening all around the National Football League, including Kansas City going down to Cincinnati, which they're up 28-14 in that game. What's up with Andy Reid? Was he choking on? It was like Mama Cass all of a sudden. He's choking on a ham sandwich over there. Come on, Andy, pick it up at the end of these games. Anyway, Joe Burrow, and wow. How good is Jamar Chase? Wow.
Well, Chase,
unbelievable.
You knew Chase. That's the funny thing about the Waddle pick, because Waddle's going to probably set the rookie completion record or catch record.
He's been great. Jalen
really
Waddle has been a great
he's
pickup.
Not Chase. Like, Chase is
oh my God,
a stud. Like, Waddle's a really good receiver. Jamar Chase is just different. And that's what you want when you draft a receiver in the top 10. I mean,
it's unbelievable. I mean, the guy's got amazing pair of hands. He's strong as an ox, and he's faster than Bullet Bob Hayes.
Yes.
Fantastic. Boy, that game that he had for Cincinnati was something else. And what was the receiver's name? It was like Smith Asabuco or something. The guy from Ohio State.
Oh, Jackson.
Oh, my God.
Jigba and Smith or something.
And the Jigba is like the second part of the hyphenated name. It's like Smith and Jigba.
Smith and Jigba. Yeah, that's what it's. Jackson Smith.
Now, how did that happen? You tell me.
I don't know.
Some guy named John Smith married somebody named Najigba?
Yeah, that's probably exactly
how that happened. I mean, how did that come about? That name alone. Research that name for us, Mike Lubitz. And we'll come back with more. Highly Apart. Man, they're cranking. And I've got it all figured out. It's January 28th, Lubie. Circle that date on your calendar. That must be a Saturday night, January 28th.
Okay.
Because that's going to be the boxing at Highly Apart. That's going to be great. Tickets are going to go quickly, so log on to highlyapart.com, and you can go out there and see just a great night of boxing. I watched a lot of boxing over the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
They were replaying a lot of different matches. I didn't see the result of this Tyson Fury. Oh, no, King Kong Ortiz, who fought at Highly Apart, was in some pay-per-view.
Nice.
King Kong Ortiz, though, is like in his 50s, I think. Great fights. I mean, that he had when he was fighting for the championship against Deontay Wilder. Those were good fights. And this guy can box. As I told you many times, Lubie, I didn't even realize it at the time who this guy was, but I called the second fight of his pro career at the Tamiami Fairgrounds here in Miami. He was being promoted by a guy named Henry Ribalta.
Yeah.
And he, and you know Henry, right? He's been on our show. He's a real good guy and a very enthusiastic boxing promoter. Does a lot of local shows here in town. So he's got King Kong Ortiz, who just defected from Cuba, had one fight under his belt. And the opponent that night, believe it or not, was Smokin' Bert Cooper, who talk about, digging somebody up from the grave. Smokin' Bert Cooper at one time in the heyday of the heavyweight era, where you had Foreman and Ali and Smokin' Joe Frazier. Smokin' Bert Cooper was kind of like, somewhere in the, maybe 15 through 10 range in terms of heavyweight boxers when there were like 20 very, very good, talented heavyweight boxers. But he was about 60 years old. King Kong Ortiz naturally knocks him out because he could barely stand up. I mean, it's trouble when the guy can't straighten himself up after he climbs through the ring ropes at the intro. The guy separates the ropes there, and your fighter climbs into the ring, and then he can't even straighten up. You're thinking, okay, this guy's in for a very short, but what will be a long remembered night if he has any memory left at all. And anyway, he just fought, and I saw the Frank Gore Darren Williams fight also. Like Lubie Lubitz.
That was rough.
Did you see that?
Yeah, Frank Gore got annihilated.
And you know what's weird? Here's a guy that was in tremendous shape, right? Always known as a conditioning freak. I mean, he played almost, it seemed like 20 years in the NFL at the running back position, where guys have very short careers for the most part. See Saquon Barkley, right?
Yep.
Saquon Barkley.
Yep.
Is he ever going to be the same? I don't know. Guys have very short careers at running back. So Frank Gore's achievements are remarkable in terms of longevity and also accomplishment. Surefire Hall of Famer, you would have to think. Frank Gore, he's not going to have to go through the turmoil that, say, Zach Thomas is going through, a finalist once again for the Hall of Fame. And he's exhausted after 30 seconds of round one. This guy's in tremendous shape. And he worked out like a fiend. You saw the shots on local TV. Frank Gore being a Miami guy. All of the local news people, oh, yeah, he's going to make the transition into boxing. Man, he got hammered by Darren Williams, who also, didn't exactly look like he was a top-notch professional. It's not like you were watching our Gwen Pryor in there. That's for sure. Anyway, the boxing is going to be great at Hialeah Park. Get your tickets online, HialeahPark.com. Always a great place to go. Champion simulcasting room among our favorite spots here on the local tour. The casino is cranking. I'm seeing jackpots galore being won. Steve Calabro, he won't have it any other way. All the people there are great. It's always a party atmosphere, great food and drink, and not at ballpark prices. Make sure you clear your social calendars and plan a visit, whether it's daytime, nighttime, open till 5 a.m. on Friday and Saturday nights, and open till 3 on the weeknights. Those Royal Reels, too, are really spinning out some jackpots right now.
Nice.
Check it out for yourself at beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here. The Defo Show, new configuration. I don't know. How's it holding up, Lubie?
So far, so good.
Okay, because I'm waiting for this wine rack to collapse. Somewhere in his house, I have something that will work in this situation, and then we're going to attempt to perfect everything. But hopefully you're enjoying the video stream here on Ion Channel, and, of course, the audio stream as well on their various outlets all throughout the world there, thanks to our man, Doug. Doing a great job for us here on Ion Channel. Good to be back with you in 2022. I'm Jeff Deforrest. He's Mike Lubitz. John Congemi goes DateLine Dolphins. We'll dive into both college and pro football. I meant to say those January 1st games, Louie. I kind of got sidetracked there.
Yeah.
Used to be something that you greatly look forward to. Now they play the semifinals, and it's sort of anticlimactic what happens on January 1st. Two sensational. Did you see these games? Sensational college football games.
Yep.
Absolutely as exciting, and that's what college football is supposed to be all about. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 7:30. Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. What if I told you you could go to a great restaurant, feel completely safe because their COVID protocol is unmatched, have an amazing meal, have a great time. When the bill comes, you won't get sticker shock. You're going to say, that's too good to be true. No, it's not, because I'm talking about Texas Roadhouse. Great family atmosphere, great atmosphere for a couple, great atmosphere if you just want to go by yourself and watch a game and have the coldest beer in town. And while you're doing that, have the best bread in town. All at Texas Roadhouse. Everything you get there is fresh every day and made sure it's served at your table, hot and ready to go. And the best part is you don't get sticker shock because the prices are amazing. Texas Roadhouse.
Hey, it's Mike Mayo for Even Keel Fish Shack, corner of A1A and Commercial Boulevard at Lauderdale by the Sea. It's my favorite place now for great seafood in a casual beachfront setting. They've got happy hour 4 to 7 Monday through Friday. They've got great dishes like grilled oysters and oysters on the half shell, bang bang shrimp, lobster rolls, octopus. They also have burgers and chicken for those who don't like the seafood. They're open 7 days a week for a lunch, dinner, and weekend brunch. Go to Even Keel Fish Shack. Go say hi to Dave and Brad and tell them the Gambling Gourmet sent you.
Recently we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752. Would you go into court without an attorney? So why would you go up against an insurance company without Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa? 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Give them a call at 954-809-8752. Why go up against insurance companies alone? You can have Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa on your side.
Buy or lease a Taos and take it to the house at Deal Volkswagen. Anna and her team make your next VW purchase or lease so easy with new inventory rolling in daily and the biggest selection of certified pre-owned vehicles in the business. You can make your deal online at dealvolkswagen.com or visit the beautiful showroom in the classic location, 3601 Bird Road, right in the heart of the Gables. Or give Anna and the team at Deal a call at 305-448-DEEL. Jettas, Passats, Tiguans, Atlas models, and the hottest vehicle in the industry, the new Taos, all at unbeatable prices and all ready to roll off the showroom floor at the #1 Volkswagen dealership around, Deal Volkswagen. Jimmy Johnson joins us here on the program, along with John Congemi, and it's DateLine Dolphins, of course, Leslie Visser, the lovely and talented one.
It was always different. You had to know if it was Emmitt Smith, if you screamed at him, he was going to go into a shell. I wasn't going to get anything out of him for the rest of the day. If it's Charles Haley, he was going to get upset at me and maybe threaten me on my life. And
I mean it.
Yeah, but I mean it. And he could have done it too, I promise. But when he went into my office, he said, Coach, just don't me one-on-one. Don't do it in front of the other players. Now, Michael Irvin, I could cuss him like a sailor. And the more I cussed him, the harder he worked.
From South Florida to the entire world, thank you to the iHeartRadio app. Here is Defo joined by Lubie on the Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show and this special Tuesday edition, our first live edition of 2022. We wanted to bring in because there were so many things happening, not only with the Miami Dolphins, normally appearing with us on Monday, the great John Congemi, brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. You just heard from the Jimmer. That was from our previous visit there, and we're planning another one sometime soon. I do have, John, how are you, by the way? Happy New Year to you, my friend.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you guys. Everything's great here, other than suffering through a Sunday of disappointment, a big game for the Dolphins, and just didn't get it done on the road against a really good Tennessee team. But yeah, everything's going great. It was a crazy weekend in the NFL. Can't wait to talk about it.
Oh, no, a lot of fun. And I was saying those two games on January 1st, the Fiesta Bowl, which Oklahoma State came back against Notre Dame. I mean, just flat as a Parisian runway model in the first half. And I have never seen a hurry up like that. I don't know. Did you catch any of that game?
It was funny. I turned it off once Notre Dame didn't convert on fourth down. And, you knew Oklahoma State was going to go in and either score or kick a field goal. And then later in the night, I looked at the score and I said, wait a minute, I must have missed something in the last minute of the game. Yeah, it was a crazy turn of events, but Oklahoma State ends up hanging on. But, yeah, you're right. The first half was completely different than the second half.
Mike Gundy, I mean, you talk about halftime adjustments. They had like 7 yards total offense in the first half.
Yeah.
Couldn't move the ball a lick, and you're thinking, oh, man, I don't even want to watch any more of this game. So I take off for a while, come back. I was feeling, I don't know, you'll find this surprising, a little bit fuzzy after New Year's Eve. And so I'm having a very lazy day. So I turn the game back on, and not only were they going no huddle, but the ref, they would grab the ball out of his hand and run a play. And every play they ran against Notre Dame in the second half of that ball game was good for 10, 15, 20 yards. It was remarkable. And yet, in the end, and this is the thing, we always talk about, well, that's the epitome of what college football is all about. Two really good teams playing supposedly, now they consider these to be meaningless games, playing their eyeballs out. Both had defections because of guys that were either going to the pros or just didn't want to play, whatever reason. And put on a sensational show with Notre Dame still in there with a chance at the very, last minute of the ball game to somehow miraculously, hit on touchdown Jesus and pull one out of the fire.
Yeah, if you looked into the second half of that game and asked the players and just watched their play and their performance and their execution, it meant something to them. They were coming back. The coaches were coaching, the players were executing, and it was fun to watch. And it was like that. Pretty much the entire bowl season, you're not catching all the games, but you're catching as many as you can. And the bowl season was fun. Even the first half of the Alabama-Cincinnati game, you could feel like, oh no, here comes Alabama right down the field. And then Cincinnati answers. You go, okay, maybe we're in for a treat, at least for 30 minutes. And that's kind of what it ended up being.
Reminded me of those Julio Cesar Chavez fights he used to have to cover when Mike Tyson was in prison and Don King was riding the cape of Chavez to whatever money he could sustain, waiting for Mike to get out. And about the sixth round, you could kind of see, they were just going to be grinding away, and the better guy was going to win. And that's kind of how that Alabama game went. And they eventually, won by a fairly wide and comfortable margin. And then I don't know, the Michigan game was a real surprise to me. I want to get into this Dolphin thing first because it reminded me of my second divorce and the aftermath. Fortunately, you haven't been in this circumstance because you have a great family and a great family life, and obviously some family values that might exceed those that I've unfortunately lived by in my lifetime with regard to the institution of marriage. But I had a fight for some reason. I had a lawyer that said, we're not going to let these people take advantage of you anymore. It was after the fact. My ex-wife was suing me for some, marginal stuff, that she thought was important to her. I was more than willing to give it to her. And my lawyer says, no, we're going to stop this nonsense because it'll go on forever. So I ended up paying $6,000 to keep a bowling ball, John Congemi. $6,000 in legal fees, and I got a bowling ball out of it. That wasn't even mine. And so, to celebrate, I rolled it off. I was living on the water. I rolled it off my dock, and it just plunged right to the bottom and became a reef. And that's kind of what the Dolphins' hopes did there on Sunday. And it was apparent early on. A lot of people were questioning the 7-game winning streak. And if you looked at the list of quarterbacks they beat, including this Book guy, I thought it was my former rabbi, Philip Book, Ian Book. I mean, they played some really, suspect teams that were also in compromised circumstances. They won them all, though, and you have to give them credit for that. But could you possibly have anticipated this? And it happened last year when they had a shot at the playoffs against the Buffalo Bills and got bludgeoned. So I don't know. Well, what kind of a message is in there for you, John Congemi, if any?
Well, it's hard to win in the National Football League, and I don't care who's playing quarterback and who's playing on the other team. They still have enough players to win a game. So I think the Dolphins, you go back and look at the teams and the list of quarterbacks, and yes, you could say, it wasn't as good or wasn't up to standard where you're playing Lamar Jackson and then you're playing Ryan Tannehill and then you're playing, whoever else is left in the AFC, Patrick Mahomes and all the kings of the position. But you do have to say that the Dolphins didn't bring their A game, and it was a miserable day to play, and it was a miserable day to play quarterback, and that's why even in a rout in a 34-3 game, Ryan Tannehill was 13 of 18 for 120 some yards and a couple of touchdowns in the red zone. They didn't have to do much. You just couldn't make that big mistake. You couldn't make that fumble in the pocket or that quarterback center exchange or that bad throw that, flips the field on a bad day with wind. I said going into the game, it was going to be the team that won field position, that had the better kicking game, and that didn't make the bad mistake, or find a way for the defense to shorten the field for the offense to make it a little bit easier. But I didn't think Foreman was going to run for almost 200 yards against
that wasn't Jim Brown
defense.
That wasn't Jim Brown.
I mean, who needs Derrick Henry when you've got Foreman, right?
Yeah.
It was unbelievable how the running game of the Titans and the domination of the line of scrimmage on both sides in a bad weather game brings you back to what football was maybe 30 years ago, because the elements do make a difference. And I guarantee that was probably the first time Tua Tagovailoa ever played a game in those types of conditions.
Yeah,
whether he was in high school, college, or a couple of years now, a year and a half into the National Football League, I guarantee that was the worst conditions, the worst playing surface, the worst tack on the football to be able to hand it and throw it and handle it and play action, all that stuff. It just probably never happened in his career, and it kind of showed.
Yeah, it looked like it was raining coconuts.
I know.
Lubie's got one for you. John Congemi with us here on the Defo Show on Ion Channel.
On DateLine Dolphins, thanks to the one and only Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill of Key Largo, and we are very excited heading back down there in the next week or so. John, that's my thing, and I get it. We still have one more week, and we could, I guess, ruin the Patriots' chances of winning the division, so that's always fun. But we thought we'd be playing for the playoffs before the season. Then after winning 7 in a row, again, we as the Dolphins control their own destiny. That's now, they're mathematically, as Defo likes to say, eliminated. What are you looking for? I know you're highly involved with the organization, directly, indirectly. What are you looking for change-wise? I presume Flores will be back. I don't know what they're going to do with Greer, but obviously this is what year 3 of the rebuild. Look, the Cardinals, year 3 of their rebuild, a NFC contender. The Bengals, year 3 of their rebuild, AFC contender. Dolphins, year 3 of their rebuild, started 1-7 and now out of the playoffs. What are you looking for as it comes to changes or growth from the Dolphins this offseason?
Well, I can tell you as a fan, you're probably looking for change, right? But change doesn't always guarantee success. Depending on who you're selecting as, say, a general manager or a head coach or staff or player personnel, it filters down. And that's why I always look at the Pittsburgh Steelers as a model. You know, they never really flinched or batted an eye when probably Chuck Noll came out of the gate not so hot. But they invested in a guy that ended up getting good people around him, not only as coaches, but in the front office, and they thrived. And they not only thrived, they were the moniker everybody looked to in the 70s. And you pass that down, you know, they've had 3 coaches in their history, really. I mean, if you take a look at what they've had, and it seems like it's a revolving door at most other places. You don't want to get to that point if you're an owner. I wouldn't want to if I own the Miami Dolphins. I'd want to. That's why I'm paying the guy so much money. I believed in him, and I want to see him succeed, and I want to give him the tools to succeed. So I think you will have some change. I don't think necessarily firing a GM or firing a head coach or firing the staff is going to bring you that change instantaneously. But if you feel like Brian Flores is a guy that resonates with his players, that found a way to motivate this team to play, then you believe in him, you stick with him. Even though it didn't go great out of the gate, I don't know if it was the way he coached. I just don't think that their performance on the field came anywhere near the execution of what he felt that they were capable of doing. Sometimes that falls on the head coach, but on this year, I don't know if it does. I mean, you've got a lot of things that are related to everyday football that have been upset over the last year and a half. So I don't know. There's probably change coming. I don't think it's coming as a head coach, but there probably is change probably in the front office and in some other places around the organization.
The great John Congemi with us here on the Defo Show on Ion Channel. And John's presence always brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. I got the feeling that if he could, Brian Flores would send Luca Brasi after Chris Greer and just have him in one of those scenes like where he gets strangled from behind. And you're thinking, we've watched this guy. Maybe he just doesn't have the talent. I have to give him some credit here because the psychotic blitzing that the Miami Dolphins have done this year has taken a relatively undistinguished defense and turned them into a decent defense. And, they weren't able to hold up against Tennessee, unfortunately. And sometimes that happens where you're putting so much pressure on one side of your team, either offense or defense, to win games that they eventually just collapse, which, is kind of what happened in this ball game. But, it seems to me he's able to make some things work without necessarily having the greatest talent in the world, Brian Flores. So I have gained some respect for him as a coach. Using that tactic, I think, was a stroke of genius this year. He turned that defense into a respectable unit.
Look at the way he changed the offense, to build it for Tua and what his strengths were, right? It was the RPO passing. It was the quick passing game, being accurate. Now, no matter what the opponent is, when you can go 7 games in a row and you're completing over 70% of your passes, you're moving the football and you're moving the chains, and you're kind of look like an offense that's functionable against, home or away, good teams, bad teams, average teams. And then you flip the coin and look at the defense. The defense was able to win on first and second down. That opens the door for the pressure on third down. That gives you a lot more flexibility to go after a quarterback and go after teams and keep applying the pressure to make them make a play under duress. And the only thing that stops that is what Tennessee did. They were able to win on first and second down with the running game. They were able to get to their play action. They were able to use field position to their advantage where they didn't have to go 80, 85, 90 yards. And the Dolphins never got to the point where they were over the past 7 weeks of dictating what they wanted to do when they wanted to do it. Tennessee did. And that's why they had the upper hand. And that's why Ryan didn't have to do much as the Tennessee Titans quarterback. All he had to do was protect the football because they owned the line of scrimmage. And they knew if they got in 2nd and 2, 3rd and 1, the Dolphins' pressure wasn't going to be a factor.
Let's suppose coming out of St. Thomas Aquinas as a highly recruited and much desired and sought after quarterback. And gosh, John, sometimes I think I was born too soon, because here we are, and all anybody wants to talk about on sports shows is gambling, which I've been getting like pounded on for like 30 years by various program directors and executives. And now all of a sudden everybody wants this, kind of conversation. But and when you were coming out of high school, I mean, if Notre Dame, say, had said, "Listen, John, you're too small, whatever. You don't have the speed to get outside. You don't fit our offense," and you end up at Pittsburgh, did you carry a grudge? I mean, is that really a factor? Because much was made of Ryan Tannehill and the getting some measure of revenge from the Miami Dolphins on the Miami Dolphins by beating them and knocking them out of the playoffs. I don't know. He's been so far removed. Is that really a factor, an overwhelming factor? Maybe, deep in the recesses of your mind, you might think, hey, that was nice to beat these guys. But, I mean, is it really that heavy of a motivating factor, or does the press just make too much of that and fans tend to buy into it?
I think it depends on the player and the circumstances around your departure. I think that has a lot to do with it. Ryan probably felt like he wanted to stick it to the Dolphins a little bit. I think you have that scar never really heals. It kind of always, you're always scratching it a little bit. There's always a sense of some rawness to being let go, because as a quarterback, you feel like you're the leader of the football team. Not only the leader of the team, the leader of the franchise. You want to be the guy to be able to have a big say in wins and losses, a big say in how the team appearance is. What kind of team are we? And when you're sent away, you feel like you have part of your soul ripped out a little bit, I would think. And that heals over time. But that initial scar, that initial feeling that you weren't wanted or you weren't the guy anymore, or that wasn't your team that you were loyal to for however many years you were there, I think that always lingers a little bit. So when you face a former team or you go up against former teammates, especially the organization that let you go, I think it always feels good not having to say much, but just be able to kind of walk off and then get with your inner circle and go, we beat the dog, we got him. Thank you, guys. That feels probably pretty good within your own group, but your performance kind of dictates not saying anything, but it feels pretty good.
The fact it was no contest naturally raised a lot of concerns about the Miami Dolphins and the future of the team. And Tua, of course, whether or not he's the man. And wow, I hate to do this to you, John, but I was talking with my friend. I was playing a little tennis last night with the great Dr. Cherry Perlmutter, who might have, lost a step if over the years. It's really the geezers at Caesars, man. It's two 70-year-old guys out there.
I got to get out there and watch this. This sounds pretty good.
You wouldn't want to watch this ugliness, that's for sure. Although we're seeing an old fat Defo running for shots from side to side is kind of a comical thing also, because, there's always a possibility that I'm going down and going to pull an Antonio Brown and just fire my stuff over the fence and leave the park. But anyway, it sounds like cliche. And I'm watching an interview last night with Jeannie Buss on that Matt Barnes show. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I haven't.
Where Matt Barnes, it's kind of interesting. They curse a lot on the show, and Steven Jackson is his co-host, and he never says anything really. But he's there, and you're afraid that if you send in a comment on Twitter or something, he's likely to come to your house and throw a chair over your head. But Jeannie Buss was talking about a couple of things, just getting back to this Flores-Greer dynamic that people are going to be talking about, all throughout, the remainder, what remains, one game in the season and the off season. She said that, you can't change coaches every 18 months and have any kind of chance of winning it for the most part, because I know, especially in basketball, one guy is going to be a defensive-minded guy, and another next guy's offensive-minded. You need a whole new crop of personnel, and you can't replace the people on a football roster, 53 guys. It's hard to just completely switch directions. But that being said, and that's maybe in defense of Flores, because I think he actually has gotten a lot of mileage out of what Lubie was calling suspect talent until this week, and now he's back on that bandwagon again, as a lot of people are. But when you're watching what's happening with this Miami Dolphin team, you can't help but think, my God, we could have had Matt Ryan. He's still in the league. Aaron Rodgers was sitting there as the number 2 pick was being made, and they select Ronnie Brown. These are just colossal, monumental mistakes. And then Lubie hates when I bring this up, but I have to say, John, I'm watching Justin Herbert throw the rock, and every time I see him, Lubie says, "Yeah, well, he's a loser," and they're just throwing the ball a lot because they're a losing team. They're not a losing team this year. This guy looks like a prototype. I mean, he is Andrew Luck all over again, where they said, oh, wow, this guy absolutely looks the part, much more so than Trevor Lawrence, and maybe more so than anybody that's come into the league in the last several years.
Well, the one that resonates with a lot of Dolphin fans, recently, is leaving Jonathan Taylor on the board and picking Noah Igbenogany.
There you go. That was a good move.
Who doesn't, hasn't been able to contribute the way a late first rounder should. And knowing that you need the position of running back, at least a lot of people outside the building felt, the Dolphins need a running back to help a young quarterback out. And more proof to that, and I'm not saying right, wrong, or indifferent, but if you go on the street and you pick up a Duke Johnson and a Phillip Lindsay and they become your best 2 backs on your roster for the last couple of weeks, that kind of tells you probably needed to take a deeper look or a deeper dive into the running back room, back in April. Now, I think that Myles Gaskin is a talented back, but he's not your lead back. And unless you have a guy like Derrick Henry or somebody that runs like D'Onta Foreman did against the Miami Dolphins last week, you're still looking for a couple of guys to fill one position of running back in the National Football League, no matter what franchise you're talking about. But to your point, a lot of those names that you brought up and a lot of those decisions over the years could have changed the direction of a franchise, because those are franchise players. Those are guys that you're going to talk about as MVPs of the league, potentially in each era that we mentioned, and none of them are wearing the aqua and orange. And that kind of swing and a miss in the 2000s, 2011, 2015, whatever year you want to go back, that changes the trajectory of a franchise.
Oh, and it has a long-term impact, as we can see. I remember, and I still vividly can recall the scene there where Alex Smith is being followed off the bus there, going into wherever there, I guess it was Rockefeller Center or something, where they were holding the draft. And, the top players are all going in there. And right behind him is Aaron Rodgers. And you're thinking, okay, let's pray. It's one of those deals. Let us pray, please, that somebody takes Darko Milicic in the top 5 and Dwayne Wade becomes a member of your team. I mean, by total accident. And, so 49ers take Alex Smith. And you're thinking, okay, great, man. Well, what do we had Gus Frerotte was our quarterback there at the time. So you're staking your future on that. And you can't imagine. I mean, one of my theories is, and this is a little cynical, John, but you can probably relate, having played quarterback at the college and pro level. If the guy had come to the Dolphins, maybe they would have ruined him. Maybe he was better off sitting behind Brett Favre for 4 years than he would have been playing for like a badly constructed and conceived Miami Dolphin organization and roster. And so who knows what would have happened, but man, it would be nice, right? Because he's probably going to win the MVP again. No,
you look at the talent of guys you pass on. You're right. Let's take Jonathan Taylor. Maybe he's not the back he is in Indy because he doesn't have the synergy on the offensive line or the commitment to the run game. But you still know by watching him play college football, like you did Aaron Rodgers, that this guy can't miss. It's only a matter of time to where he's going to be one of the stars of the league. And it just seems like the Dolphins, for some reason, over the last 20 years, yes, you've hit on guys that you get in the 3rd round or the 5th round that, Jason Taylor, no one is going to argue about finding him, and Jimmy found him and Jimmy found Zach. And you find a lot of these pieces to the puzzle that are Hall of Fame players. But at the position of quarterback, if you find one and you keep one and you think that he's going to be the guy for a long time, eventually those 500 seasons turn into 11, 12 wins more consistently, and you're in the playoffs, you have a chance to win a world championship instead of always being on the other side of the fence, taking a peek, going, man, that looks like a lot of fun. I'd like to get in.
You can't put Jimmy in the same category as any other person when it comes to the draft. I mean, just proven. This guy was a chess master, man. He was Bobby Fischer with a little bit more sane of a brain. Because I mean, the things he did in Dallas, of course, in building that franchise into a Super Bowl winner that even Barry Switzer could win with, as he said. And did you detect a little bit of cynicism and sarcasm?
I didn't hear any. I didn't hear any detail.
Even Barry Switzer won a championship.
Going home at 4:00.
And I mean, he had a couple of whiffs with the Miami Dolphins, but he takes big swings, and he came up with a remarkable bunch of players. And as you alluded to, especially in the later rounds, I don't think these guys are as sharp. What's that guy's name? Anonymity, the defensive back, and nobody can pronounce his name.
Igbenogany.
Doesn't even get on the field.
Wow. Infamy is what it's going to be known as, because that's always going to be one of the. You always have those dreadful picks where everybody alludes to him forever, right? Like Eddie Moore instead of Anquan Bolden. Just even to this day, I guess they do carry a grudge because Anquan Bolden is still bitter that he was not a member of the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
All right. So one place you can never be bitter is down in the Keys, mile marker 104 specifically, and that is Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Johnny, what's happening down there as they kick off the new year? It had to be a wild celebration there on New Year's Eve.
I think they're still celebrating down at the Big Chill. That's for sure.
They don't realize it's past 1969 there yet.
That's right. A good time is had by all, especially with the playoffs coming up, and now you've got games on Saturday night and then all day Sunday, and then you've got that Sunday night game heading in to the playoffs. So the sports bar is going to be rocking. You've got the national championship on Monday, which should be a good time down there. And then you kind of saunter out, and if you want to have dinner, you can have dinner. If you want to go to the tiki bar, if on the weekends, you've got live entertainment. It just never stops at the Big Chill. It seems like it's rinse and repeat. And the service that you get down there is outstanding. The food is off the charts, and it's one of my friends always tell me it's their favorite place to go. If they're heading down to Key West, they're always going to stop, at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill because my brother and he's making pies and fresh fish and anything you want. Everything is there, and it's just a terrific place to go and relax.
Looking forward to getting down there, getting some more football insight as we're approaching the playoffs and the final week of the regular season in the NFL. We'll dive into some college football with John Congemi. It's DateLine Dolphins. Here on the Defo Show, I'm Jeff Deforrest, and you see how refreshed Lubie looks? He looks good here. And by the way, what do you think of the new digs, John Congemi?
I love it. I love the way it looks. It looks terrific.
A few imperfections here. We forgot that you need a chair to do this, so I'm sitting on a wine rack right now with both my legs falling asleep. But you know what? You got to be a pro, right? Who the lights are falling? Who cares, right? So we'll come back. A lot of good college football action. And, of course, the championship game is still on tap with Alabama surprisingly an underdog to a team that they defeated convincingly the last time they met. We'll get into that. And I guess we have to discuss whether or not expansion will include 2 SEC teams. So when the NFL decides to go to 34, because that could possibly be the case with the way these teams shellacked all competition, including the Michigan Wolverines. Back with more with John Congemi here on the Defo Show on Ion Channel. Great to be with you here in 2022. Stick with us. We're with you every Monday through Friday, and we'll come back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:03 on the East Coast.
Hey there, it's Mike Mayo. Do you like steaks? Do you like seafood? Do you like classic old Florida charm? You could get that all and more at Tropical Acres Steakhouse and Butcher Shop at 2500 Griffin Road in Dania, just west of 95. The Studiali family, they've been running the place a long time. It's been there more than 70 years. And it is now a place you can get early bird specials along with steaks to take home and throw on the grill yourself at the Butcher Shop. That's open 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. It's open for dinner every night starting at 4:30, but they are closed on Sundays. Go to Tropical Acres. It's a place to go for a great meal, great people, good value. Tropical Acres.
The championship meet is right around the corner at Gulfstream Park. The only place for live racing, Gulfstream's action has never been hotter. Whether it's on the track, in the casino, or part of the dining and entertainment offered at the Village of Gulfstream Park. Currently running Thursday through Sunday, Gulfstream's racing package is the best in the country, with all the top horses and people in the game pointing towards another tremendous winter season. Check out the remodeled First Floor Casino, open 7 days and nights a week, along with the many special events and concerts happening at Gulfstream Park. You can place your wagers from anywhere at firstbet.com. Check the calendar of events at gulfstreampark.com.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Since day one of Old School, we've had Catholic Health Services be part of our family. They are recognized as the quintessential rehab facility in the Southeast for strokes, but it goes well beyond strokes, because Catholic Health Services is in the community of South Florida to help the community stay healthy. And if they're not healthy, get them healthy and get them back on their feet quicker than they could have ever expected. They do it every single day. It's step and repeat, 24/7. Catholic Health Services.
Buy or lease a Taos and take it to the house at Deal Volkswagen. Anna and her team make your next VW purchase or lease so easy, with new inventory rolling in daily and the biggest selection of certified pre-owned vehicles in the business. You can make your deal online at dealvolkswagen.com or visit the beautiful showroom in the classic location, 3601 Bird Road, right in the heart of the Gables. Or give Anna and the team at Deal a call at 305-448-DEEL. Jettas, Passats, Tiguans, Atlas models, and the hottest vehicle in the industry, the new Taos, all at unbeatable prices and all ready to roll off the showroom floor at the #1 Volkswagen dealership around, Deal Volkswagen. Jimmy Johnson joins us here on the program, along with John Congemi, and it's DateLine Dolphins, of course.
Hey, Coach, you were talking about, different ways to motivate guys, different ways to talk to guys, talking about Brian Fleur. And I think just listening to him talk to his team, I think it resonates with a lot of guys. I think that's an important ingredient if you're sitting in the room and you actually believe what the guy, that man is telling you, that's your head coach. How did you feel about that, your message resonating with your team?
John,
At any level.
I think you're exactly right. I've never been a dreamer. I've never dreamed about stuff, because if you dream, that means you got your fingers crossed and you're hoping.
Yeah.
But I believed, when we were at University of Miami, the graduation rate was right about 50%, which that's about what the student body is. And so, I looked at it, and we were recruiting these inner city kids. And from day one, I talked to them about when they got their college degree. If you really believe in something, John, it's part of your personality. My personality was, hey, these guys are college graduates. We were 1 in 15 in Dallas, and I took my guys out, Tony and Dave and Butch and all that crew. We went to a little restaurant, and I said, guys, just hang with me. I told you we're going to win a national championship when I was at Oklahoma State. Now, we had to go to another university to do it, but we won it. I said, hang with me. We're going to win a Super Bowl. We operated as if we were going to win a Super Bowl. It wasn't hoping, it wasn't dreaming, it was believing. And I think that if that's your personality, it carries over to the players.
Right.
It carries over to the assistant coaches. That's the way they deal with the players. And hey, after a couple of years, all of a sudden these players are believing they're going to win it. I think that motivates the average player to be a good player.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show, the Defo Show here on Ion Channel. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubie, Lubitz, and we're joined usually on Mondays, DateLine Dolphins with John Congemi. It's been great all throughout the season and all throughout the offseason as well. There's always something to talk about when it comes to the game of football, and we want to dive into the college football scene as we had the semifinals conducted. John, of course, brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104 in Key Largo. That was from our previous interview, that clip that you just heard. with Jimmy, which was spectacular. Leslie Visser on the scene. We had dueling Hall of Famers. We had you. And, of course, it's funny. Tommy Fox, who we played tennis with last week with Amy and the Mustang. And he's serving a game that went like 100 points. And then afterwards, you know how Tommy is. He's like, oh, my shoulder. Oh, geez. And he's great. But he blamed you. He blamed you for the fact that he double faulted on the final point of that game and ultimately lost it, because he said that if he wasn't blocking for you trying to get around the left side there when he was playing tight end at St. Thomas, his shoulder would have been in better shape and he would have won that game of tennis. 40 years later, he's still complaining.
I think it was the touchdown pass I threw him in the playoffs that was just off the chest a little bit, and he had to go up and get it. And I still think his rotator cuff is messed up from that. So he's probably bang on. He's probably right on. I did expose him a little bit there.
I told him he should have played basketball. He would have been far better off. Although, how was the basketball program there? Did they have one at St. Thomas?
Yeah.
It's so football dominant.
Actually, it's probably much better than it was back when we played. Everybody played every sport back then. Now it's, if you play football, you only have maybe one or two guys that carry over to play basketball or baseball or wrestle or run track. But back then you kind of played them all. So we were probably better at football than most. And the other sports were okay. They weren't championship caliber, but they weren't 500 either. They were probably pretty good.
All right. So you didn't have all of these internationally acclaimed coaches hanging around the basketball gym there.
No.
Like they were at the football games. It was amazing. It was like they were all wearing their Hall of Fame jackets as they lined up to watch St. Thomas talent play out there on the gridiron. All right, so the final game is set. Surprisingly to me, and this gets back to our theory that we were professing going back to the championship game of the SEC when the Alabama Crimson Tide won the title there and became the number one seed in the college football playoff. Drew, you would have to say, I don't know, Cincinnati wasn't a patsy, but they certainly weren't at the same level as Alabama or maybe a lot of SEC teams. So, that kind of played out about the way people expected it to, I think, where Alabama was just going to overall be too strong for no matter how feisty and fiery and, how competitive Cincinnati was going to be in that ballgame. And Georgia cruises. I mean, that surprised me a little bit over Michigan. So the relative ease that they won with, is maybe reason to believe they can bounce back off of that Alabama loss. But how is Georgia favored over a team that they just lost to a few weeks ago in the most meaningful game of the season by 17 points? How are they? And how is it that people could possibly bet against the devil in this one? Talking about going against Nick Saban, with the old adage, you give Nick Saban like 2 hours to prepare for anybody, and he could beat the Packers with Alabama. So, what do you think about that? Georgia favored over Alabama, I think, by like 2.5, 3 points.
Yes.
Well, first of all, when you go back and you take a look at the semifinal, I think Vegas is looking at matchups, and matchups just didn't fall the Michigan way or Cincinnati. Let's take Cincinnati first. You knew there was only a matter of time before that exuberance and that momentum and that excitement about playing in that game and being the first one to kind of knock down, the king of the hill. That was going to kind of, after the first series, second series, you kind of get into the game. You go, I know which way this one's going to go.
Yeah.
And it just, if Cincinnati's in the SEC for a season and they had to play that game, and then all of a sudden they had to play Texas A&M next week, and then you get South Carolina the week after, you might win one. You may be in none after halftime, but you're all beat up. Now you got to go on the road and play Georgia. It's a tough league, and I think they found out it's a tough team in Alabama. The one that surprised me a little bit was Georgia, but after you looked at what Michigan does well, they run the football. They said that's who they are. They want to win the line of scrimmage. They want to run the football. Yeah. Georgia has the best defense in the country. They have the best, meanest, largest humans possible that cover their front seven, and they're not bad in the back end either. So the matchup for Michigan was terrible. They didn't have enough speed on the offensive line to combat getting to the second level to block those guys, and it was just downhill from there, because Georgia was able offensively to hit on the big plays that gave them that separation, where the defense just now could just kind of, hair on fire, let's get after the quarterback when they decide to throw. And it was a complete mismatch up front.
I wish you had mentioned that to me before I laid the 7 and a hook.
Exactly.
I know.
I took the 7 and a hook.
A lot of my friends were saying that too. I'm not a good guy. I'm not a good gambler. I just give.
You would be.
The
reason is because you don't
ask
gamble.
my friends.
Yeah. I don't know. You have you thrown a few bucks on a game here and there? Nothing that you were playing, and of course,
He's
when
been
you're with the Argonauts,
no,
you probably could have fixed those CFL games.
I never. Well, you had to do what you had to do. Hey,
Yeah.
I never got to the point where I was in it, but a lot of my friends are, and they're always coming to me saying, "Well, you should know what's going to happen." I don't.
Yes.
I feel guilty if it goes the other way. They're going,
Sure.
John, you don't know crap about football. You don't know anything. So I'm okay after the fact. I'm really a good armchair quarterback, they say.
No, that was a brilliant analysis, but I thought Michigan was in there with a shot. What do you got, Lubie?
We all did. And that's my thing is Georgia not only stunned Michigan, Georgia dominated Michigan in a way that Alabama didn't even dominate Cincinnati. So I guess Vegas is looking at it like, well, is it really going to happen twice? Is Georgia going to get that outclassed twice? My hope is Kirby Smart does more what he did against Michigan offense, because if you notice, Georgia opened it up a little bit. Like Bennett was throwing.
They did.
They
did.
And Michigan's defense is better than Alabama's. I mean, it is. Like Michigan's defense is step for step going into that game as good as Georgia's. And Georgia, I think, realized, all right, this old school football Kirby Smart likes to do is not going to work against its Alabama team. Let's see what we can do against this Michigan team and test it out. And it worked like gangbusters. To me, that's the only thing that changes in this Alabama matchup, right? Like they went into that game trying to run it and control the line of scrimmage, and Bryce Young won the Heisman on that day. So like, you're not going to be able to do that versus this Alabama team. Even the games where Alabama struggled this year, it was in shootouts. Florida put up a ton of points. A&M put up a ton of points. Georgia has the talent to do it. Bennett isn't this gunslinger, but you know what? They have to open it up, and I'm hoping that's why they're putting Georgia as a favorite, is they realize Kirby Smart can't do that twice, and if he opens it up, then Georgia should be the better team.
I think the reason they're coming in at such a different number than maybe you expected, especially losing to Alabama the first time around in the SEC championship, is because the defense is so talented. The defense is so good. They feel like they're going to be able to shut down Alabama. If you remember in that SEC championship game, Alabama and their Heisman Trophy quarterback ran around a lot and did a lot of things that were keeping plays alive, right? And they were taking shots. Now you take one of their premier wide receivers off the field due to injury in that game, and you face a team that has a chip on their shoulder that probably had a bad day. They gave up the football offensively. They didn't have their best defensive day or performance against Alabama, and a lot of credit goes to Alabama. I just think it's going to be a different game, especially because now they figure they have some confidence offensively to take some chances down the field and push the football, which they didn't necessarily do the first time around, or when they did, they turned into incompletions and turnovers that gave Alabama some momentum. So I think Georgia feels like, and the bettors feel like, they're going to ride this defense. They're going to shorten the field. Alabama's minus one of their biggest playmakers on offense, and they're not banking on Alabama coming up with so many of those big plays offensively against Georgia this time around.
They're going to eventually find out the dirt on Joel Osteen, John Congemi, and he's betting against the devil. Do not bet against the devil.
It's tough.
That's Nick Saban. I don't know. It's just hard to envision. I mean, obviously Georgia could bounce back in this ball game, but here's why you shouldn't gamble. I mean, I know. I mean, the Rose Bowl game, people were saying, "Well, geez, Ohio State, they're missing like 10 guys." And, of course, Utah was this upstart team, first time ever in the Rose Bowl. Did you ever play a game in the Rose Bowl? I want to say
no.
Yes, you did. No?
I didn't. I did not, but that was the first game that I broadcast in my college football career. In terms
Get out of here.
Yeah, it was a Miami at UCLA game played in the Rose Bowl, and we got to call that game, and that was my first one. So that I never played, but did the open from the field. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I covered a few Rose Bowl games in my days with the Ontario Daily Distort, and was on the sidelines many times and in the press box. And, it's just that whole day is like a giant celebration. So it is a big deal. And of course, it was like Pac-8 versus Big Ten,
Yeah.
in those days. And USC was a dominant football team. So always spectacular stuff. And they could not have lit it up anymore. So I am laying 4 points with Ohio State in this ball game. And Ohio State's getting crushed. I mean, it just annihilated. Utah comes out of the chute there to hit them with a haymaker right away. They're up like 14-zip. Ohio State looks lifeless and listless. And then they ended up setting all-time college football records. Johnny, I mean, your arm would fall off if you threw for 500, would it not?
Yes, it would. And you know what? It's funny because a lot of those games took the same pattern. The first half, you're not sure. The favorites kind of, bumbling and stumbling around and can't get out of their own way. And then all of a sudden, a receiver has almost 300 receiving yards. A quarterback
370 or something.
Yeah,
like that,
close to 600 yards, and it's offense back and forth. So I think that's sometimes the fun of having 18 to 20 to 21-year-olds, running around. You're not sure how the week went in terms of them having fun at the bowl game, but it's certainly they saved a lot for the second half, because the second half of a lot of those games were explosive plays, and you didn't know who was going to win until the last play.
And the same was true in this one, except I was convinced that I was easily going to cover the 4 points I was laying when Utah had its quarterback knocked out, and they bring in some guy. He looks like Opie from the Annie of Mayberry show. And he's from Milton, Utah, a walk-on freshman who's never thrown a pass in collegiate competition. And he comes in now with Ohio State just absolutely on a mad rush, both offensively and defensively, becoming unstoppable. And they get 2 pass interference calls when they're about to go out on downs against Ohio State. And then the kid throws a 30-yard, just thing of beauty, a butterfly right in there, touchdown pass. And now the game is tied. And so all Ohio State needs to do is kick a field goal. And even a guy's jersey is being torn off as he's going into the end zone, and he trips and falls at the 1. And then they run out the clock and kick the field goal.
That's the one.
Ohio State by 3. Oh,
that was the
God.
play, Defo.
Oh, no.
I'm surprised I survived January 1st now that I think back on it. I mean, that was ugly, but anything can happen. Yeah.
Those are tough ones to kind of bounce back from. Now you got to watch another game at the end of the night that you're going, well, I got to go all in on this one. I thought he was going to get in the end zone too, but there was a lot of games in terms of talking about, laying odds and laying points, that one play here or there, both in the bowl season and in the last weekend's NFL.
Yeah, that's always,
it's always one play. It seems like you're hoping that they score a touchdown, they settle for a field goal, and you lose by a half a point.
The most desperate situation is when you need a late pick 6 by the team that's ahead, but they're not ahead by enough points. And so you're just hoping somebody throws a little, Zeppelin out into the flat there. Yeah.
Exactly.
My son is well aware of that, because every now and then he'll text me if we're watching a ball game, in separate locations, and say, "Do you need the late pick 6?"
So that was the prayer. That was the prayer at Sunday supper, right?
Yeah.
That's how you ended.
The Last Supper.
Late picks, Last Supper's right.
John Congemi with us here. It's DateLine Dolphins with John Congemi. So what do you think? I mean, is it too early to put you on the spot on this thing? Are you going to do some further analysis?
Well, I have him on Monday, and the game's Monday night, so I mean, I guess he can.
Okay, you have time to go back and retract whatever opinion you render here, which is always great about being in the media.
It is.
And then maybe even after the ball game, come back and say, well, I told you they couldn't run the ball. But in this matchup of Georgia and Alabama, with Georgia a slight favorite, Alabama having beaten them pretty handsomely the last time that they got together, with, huge stakes, just like you would have to say the SEC championship, not quite, the ultimate game. Obviously, this is for the whole national title, but, I mean, the stakes couldn't have been any larger at that point. And so, very meaningful game for both teams. So what do you think? What happened straight up this time?
Well, I think in that SEC championship game, guys, Alabama needed to win. Georgia didn't. They would have liked to have won that game. It was a very important game for Georgia, but Alabama had to win to get in, right?
Yep.
So now they're in, and they're both probably thinking we're going to win again and have this matchup because they were clearly the better teams. It's tough to beat the same team. It's tough to beat them in this tight of a window twice, especially a team as good and has been as dominant as Georgia had all year. So it's tough to bet against the devil. It's tough to bet against Alabama and Nick Saban. Yeah. But boy, it's got to happen one time for Kirby Smart. It has to happen one time. And this time he has the better team. It's all a matter of can they get to the second half and can they make that one or two plays on both sides of the football, whether it's getting a first down on third and whatever to keep the ball and keep it away from Alabama, or can they make a big stop against Alabama? I think Georgia kind of gets it done in the national championship. And it's hard for me to say because I don't ever go against really Nick Saban and that team because they're so well coached. Yep. But Georgia, I think, has the better roster.
We were talking about it earlier before you came on in the opening segment, John. I mean, you look at the coaching staff. They got Doug Marrone is like the assistant jockstrap equipment analyst. And I got Bill O'Brien here. I mean, he was a pretty decent coach, before he ruined the team by becoming a general manager. But, when he was coaching, he had great success in the pros. This is like your offensive coordinator. It's not like you're at Schmink Tech or something. But
it's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, Jim Baker bet against the devil. Jimmy Swaggart, look what happened to them. Both ended up doing time. I don't know that I want to bet against the devil in this game. John, you know what? I just had this thought because I have a monitor up here on the left, and it has Good Morning America, and they're interviewing Jesse Palmer, who, has blossomed as a television host and branched into many areas, including replacing the disgraced Chris Harrison as the host of The Bachelor, which debuted, I guess, last night, which is not a bad situation to be in if you're a guy, would you say?
I think that's a pretty good job if you can get it. Yes, that's a nice.
Well, I mean, for Palmer, and of course, the guy who is the Bachelor, he's got like 32 gorgeous, stunning model-type babes all salivating over him as soon as they get out of the car. I mean, when did that ever happen in your lifetime?
No.
So anyway, but if they could take a good-looking former quarterback who had, success on a college level and make him the host of The Bachelor, have you been contacted?
No.
To host The Bachelorette?
I have not. And it's disappointing, Defo, but what are you going to do? I told him my Monday mornings were booked and sometimes Tuesdays, all my time.
Hey, you got to do this show. How can you possibly host that at 5 minutes?
That's right. Yeah, and if I didn't have to, I might consider it if they asked me, but no.
A lot of babes. No, The Bachelorette wouldn't be the way to go. You definitely want to be hosting a Bachelor.
On the other side, right.
You don't want to create any jackpots at home. All right, you can never get in a jackpot. And if you do, I mean, they used to say, I called it the green mile of love, because when things would go south in a relationship, which was unfortunately a frequent circumstance with me, John Congemi, it was like, let's go to Marco Island. And you'd go across Alligator Alley. And unfortunately, whatever you were fighting about before you went there, you were in a bigger fight about it on the way back. But I mean, this could be the solution. I mean, if there's a problem in a relationship, take your girl, or subsequently, if you're the girl and you got a little bit of adventurous spirit, take your guy down to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill and maybe stay there for a weekend in those fine accommodations.
You know what? A lot of problems go away when you hit mile marker 104. That's for sure.
Yeah, right out of Florida City.
It's unbelievable. You kind of get there, you exhale and say, I'll take one of those drinks right there. That looks pretty good.
Give me the thing with a pineapple in it.
Tiki bar and have a blast. You're right. Put your feet up. They got the jet skis. They got the boats. They got the accommodations. They have the sports bar where you can go in and catch a game. The flat screens are everywhere. I think this is the perfect weekend to do it on Saturday night. It's going to be packed down there with 2 NFL games. You've got Sunday, a whole slate of games, and then Monday you have the national championship. So whether you're outside enjoying the cool weather now in South Florida, which is comfortable either morning or evening, or in the afternoon when it gets summer hot, it's a great place to be. You can jump in the pool, you can go to the tiki bar, you can have dinner at one of the 3 restaurants there, and it's just a fabulous place to be.
John, fabulous having you on the show. I mean, it was a very exciting weekend all the way around and week building up to this a pair of semifinal games, and then the games on those two games on January 1st were spectacular. I mean, as entertaining as any I've seen in the college football. I don't know about history, but it was just absolutely great. The action all the way to the bitter end. Thanks so much for being with us. Looking forward to heading down to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Tommy Fox says he's on top of that, and that
Nice.
things are going great down there. So we should be down there with the whole crew, and looking forward to seeing you and Jimmy Johnson and everybody at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Thanks for being with us.
You got it, guys. Have a great week, and talk to you.
Talk to you Monday. Happy New Year, and we'll see you next Monday there, John.
DateLine Dolphins with John Congemi. That was a lot of fun. So much happened on the gridiron, both college and pros. And what did we blow taps finally for the Miami Dolphins? Is that it?
Yeah, they're done. Mathematically eliminated. Your favorite phrase?
Mathematically eliminated. At least it was late in the season.
Yes, it was the second to last week this year. Look at that.
What a crew of schminks they mowed down, though. I mean, finishing up with this guy Ian Book.
Yes.
And the New Orleans Saints, who had 21 players out.
When they struggled in that game.
And we're ordering parades on Biscayne Boulevard. Hey, we're the only team to lose 7 in a row and then win 7 in a row. That's not a great distinction because you lost 7 in a row to set that record, right?
Exactly.
Right? I mean, you buried all of your investors, but then you made $1 million.
People were calling for him to win Coach of the Year, and I was laughing. I'm like,
no, that's
wasn't the reason they won 7 in a row because they had started 1-7? Like, don't start 1-7.
They lost to Jacksonville.
They lost to the Falcons and the Jags.
Pathetic team.
They'd be
the
in
Jacksonville
the
Jaguars. Yeah.
Like, come on.
All right, Brett Tesser, the agent to the Star, is going to join us here. His presence brought to you by Will and Trust attorney and state planner extraordinaire, Mr. Michael D. Wild. Don't forget about our friends at Hialeah Park. And, of course, one of the real treats about entering 2022 is driving my Tiguan there from Deal Volkswagen. Those people are great. Dynamite to deal with. Go online, check out all their inventory. They're located in Coral Gables. They will bring a car virtually anywhere to you. And I'm going to see Anna at the game this coming week. You believe I'm going to that last meaningless Dolphin game, Lubie, of all the games this year?
Well, at least when the stand goes crazy, it won't be so bad because the Dolphins are done anyway. So Patriots can do whatever the hell they want.
After about 3 Tito's and cranberry, she's okay. But that's like $48 into the trip.
Yeah, you actually buy alcohol there? Wow, good for you. No way.
I was a big fan of trying to sneak stuff into games. I always was a big fan of that. And then you would buy like a Sprite.
Exactly.
Spike the living daylights out of it. All right, we'll talk some more NFL with Brett Tesser, the agent of the Stars. A lot of interesting things. I'm sure he'll have some thoughts on the Dolphins and the direction that team needs to go in after getting bludgeoned. I don't know if that was any big surprise either. I mean, it seems like, that movie, It Happens Every Spring, that I like.
Yep.
About baseball. It used to be on Rain Out Theater all the time. Seems like it happens every year now.
Every time.
The Dolphins claw their way back into some kind of respectability. And then, boom, as John Madden would say, and may he rest in peace. John Madden checked down, unfortunately, on us while we were on our little hiatus there. You were playing.
Betty White and Dan Reeves. You had your 3. It was pretty sad.
It's sad, too. I don't mean this in any kind of insensitive way, but at one time I had Betty White. Remember? I had Betty White in the Deadpool.
I mean, she was doing so well.
This is worse, though. Did you see what happened with this story? Because I'm in a supermarket checking out, I don't know, I was buying something, real quickly in there. And, I look at the magazine racks, as you're checking out because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And they had Betty White on People magazine cover, saying, hey, it's going to be great to make 100.
Yes.
She's on the magazine cover.
2 weeks ago. And she said, I'm in the best health of my life.
Do you know who owns the magazine, People magazine? The same company owns Sports Illustrated. This is the ultimate Sports Illustrated jinx.
Oh, no.
Where you forecast your own death.
Oh, no.
I had her in a Deadpool, but I was rooting against that because I was a big Betty White fan, as everybody was. And John Madden, who didn't like John Madden? I had Madden at one time in that Deadpool.
Oh, wow.
I can't connect, man.
I can't connect.
Can't connect. Just unbelievable. And then, people just dropping like flies. Dan Reeves after that.
Sad.
And a few other famous people, passed away on us as we came to the tail end of 2021. A dreadful year in death.
Yes.
Was it not?
Yes.
I guess all years in death are pretty dreadful, right? Including my own. All right. Brett Tesser going to join us. Brought to you by Will and Trust attorney, Michael D. Wild. Don't forget about the people that deal Volkswagen, as I said. Great deals, especially this pre-owned, vehicle deal.
In my next couple of years, I'm going to need a new car, and hopefully Deal Ideal.
I'm hoping Jack is still looking for that Tiguan. He says he is. We got it on reserve for him. Anyway, we'll see Ann at the Patriot game. I don't know. It's always fun, my one annual trek out to Hard Rock Stadium. Is there plenty of observations to be made? Are there not, Mike Lubie? It's a 425 game.
Good for you.
They want to play all the, I guess they play all the meaningful games or all the AMC games
One.
at 425.
Oh, there you
No, because, I mean, they don't want teams to know the result, so they throw in the towel in their ball game. Isn't that the way that it's planned out by the league? It's actually kind of a smart thing to do because, if the Eagles played early in the day and, they won and that eliminated somebody that was playing later on, that would kind of render that game pretty insignificant, would it not? Very deflating for the team that got knocked out of the playoffs earlier in the day. All right, we're coming back with more. Brett Tesser, the agent of the stars here on the Defo Show on ION Channel, streaming audio and video, and I hope you guys are enjoying the show. We'll come back in a moment with more. Now that.
The time.
8:35.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. What if I told you you could go to a great restaurant, feel completely safe because their COVID protocol is unmatched, have an amazing meal, have a great time. When the bill comes, you won't get sticker shock. You're going to say, that's too good to be true. No, it's not, because I'm talking about Texas Roadhouse. Great family atmosphere, great atmosphere for a couple, great atmosphere if you just want to go by yourself and watch a game and have the coldest beer in town. And while you're doing that, have the best bread in town. All at Texas Roadhouse. Everything you get there is fresh every day and made sure it's served at your table, hot and ready to go. And the best part is you don't get sticker shock because the prices are amazing. Texas Roadhouse.
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752. Would you go into court without an attorney? So why would you go up against an insurance company without Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa? 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Give them a call at 954-809-8752. Why go up against insurance companies alone when you can have Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa on your side?
Hey, it's Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet here for my friends over at Shenanigans Sports Pub. It's a great place to go to take in a game, a good meal, and a couple of drinks. My friend Patrick, he's been doing it a long time, and he's got 2 locations. West Side is right across from TY Park in Hollywood. And then the East Side location is at 1300 South Federal Highway in Dania Beach. Shenanigans is the place for wings, burgers, barbecue, fresh fish, anything you want, drink specials, late night dining, outdoor dining. It is the place to go, family friendly. Go to Shenanigans and tell them the Gambling Gourmet sent you.
The simple pleasures of this job, the way a stadium sounds when one of my players performs well on the field, the way we are meant to protect them in health and in injury. Less work, more attention, caring for them, caring for ourselves in the games too.
The agent to the stars, the one and only Brett Tesser.
Well, once again, everybody, welcome back to the show here on Ion Channel, the Defo Show. I'm Jeff Deforrest, along with Mike Lubitz. Happy to be back with you and live on Ion Channel, streaming audio and video. All you have to do is Google the Defo Show. We've done a lot of shows, Lubie. I was looking back through some of the previous shows, and it's quite a volume of work that we've done so far. I don't know how meaningful any of it was, but nonetheless, we left quite a trail. Some people would say, yeah, it's quite a trail of trash. But no, we had a lot of fun building up to this point and looking forward to great things here in 2022. With that, one of our staples here, every Tuesday, he's joined us for many, many years now, and always great to get the insight on the National Football League and some of the subliminal things that go on there and deep beneath the surface from Brett Tester, the agent to the stars, who's been doing a fine job over 20 years in the agent business and very much the agent to the stars right now.
Yes.
Brett Tester joins us, courtesy of Will and Trust attorney and estate planning law firm of Michael D. Wild and Felice. They do a great job. Brett, Happy New Year. How are you? And best regards to you and the family. It looked like you were having a wonderful time in the snowy confines of Wisconsin.
Yeah, good morning and Happy New Year to you guys and everybody listening. And good to be back in town down here. And yeah, looking forward to an exciting 2022.
All right. A lot of questions, of course, were raised, and we discussed this with John Congemi, and Lubie and I had our thoughts on this. What conclusions, if any, Brett Tester can be drawn from the Dolphins now? And it's like the myth of the Sisyphus, I guess.
I was
where they
thinking about
keep
that.
pushing the rock up the hill, and looks like they're going to get somewhere, and then always dreams shattered, concepts busted, question marks raised as they get trounced again in a late season game that had a lot on the table. What were your thoughts on what transpired there?
I mean, it was obviously very disappointing, not just losing to Tennessee, because Tennessee is a very good team. Not a great team, but a very good team. And, you know, face it, the Dolphins put themselves in quite the hole to start the season. What was it, 1-7?
Yes.
So to do what they did, to manage to right the ship and to you know, win a bunch of games in a row to a point where, you know, you could say they were one of the hottest teams in the league. It's disappointing in a game like this against a quality opponent, against your former quarterback in Ryan Tannehill, with your current quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa, who seemingly was sort of kind of turning the corner a little bit. This was going to be the opportunity for them to really show that this team is for real, and he's for real, and this season's for real. And unfortunately, all three of those things ended up kind of getting squashed in, you know, one fell swoop. And so, you know, it's disappointing. And we've talked about Tua all season long. And I mean, look, my opinion on the guy is this: he's not bad. He does what he does well. But the reality is, he was never really the perfect prospect in the way that he doesn't have the perfect size, the perfect hand size, the perfect arm talent. And these are all things that sort of really showed themselves here in this last game in inclement weather, where, again, you know, you kind of need that quarterback that's got the bigger hands, that can grip the ball. And, of course, you know, some of the offensive line issues that seemingly have plagued this team for the last, I don't know, 20 years. You know, it just kind of reminds you, you know, why it kind of reminds you why, you know, it would put any quarterback in a difficult situation, because, again, you know, when you talk about Tua not having maybe the ideal size, ideal hand size, a guy like Justin Herbert does. And so the reality is, though, behind the offensive line that we've seen here so often, I don't think Justin Herbert or anybody else could have success. So I think Tua has shown enough to where he's not a guy that you have to just discard or turn the page on. He's probably, you know, as good as, you know, maybe half the quarterbacks in this league. But, you know, the issue with him, everybody talks about the great completion percentage. Sam Bradford has some of the greatest completion percentages of all time. So you see that doesn't necessarily correlate to wins, and it doesn't necessarily correlate to what an elite franchise quarterback should be. So I believe Tua is definitely good enough to win. I think they run a very good offense around him. again, some of that is to sort of cover up for some of the protection deficiencies, but he is very accurate. He delivers a very well-timed, accurate ball. And so if you give him good protection, if you establish a top-flight running game, and if you play great defense, there's certainly been quarterbacks who have won Super Bowls that are less talented than him. But, is he that, Justin Herbert generational type talent? Yeah, I mean, Herbert's going to throw for 5,000 yards this year. And, he's breaking already franchise touchdown records from, guys like Dan Fouts, Phillip Rivers. I mean, those guys are essentially the Chargers version of Dan Marino. And, in this guy's second year, he's coming in there and destroying records. So, I mean, it's one of those deals where in retrospect, I think we all know, if the draft could be held again, knowing today knowing then what we knew today, I think it's pretty clear what the Dolphins would do. But they have Tua. He's not bad. It's unfortunate that, again, the season ended up sort of, ending under the circumstances it did. And, of course, Ryan Tannehill, who I always believed was a victim of circumstance down here. You saw him step up and do what a top-flight quarterback does, and he threw touchdowns. He was very efficient, made the plays when he needed to, and now the Dolphin season's over.
What a sad song. Hey, you know what, Lubie, I just had to throw this in because when Brett was rattling off those record-breaking stats, the names he was associating as Chargers quarterbacks, I kept thinking about how much you thought that it was a mistake to believe that Herbert was better than Tua Tagovailoa.
Well, I think Herbert's a talent, but I think he would be ass on this Dolphins team. And I think it's the funny thing is how much I gave Tannehill crap, but it wouldn't matter what Tannehill did with this team. And I think Justin Herbert's not as accurate as Tua, and he likes to take chances. So if he's getting barraged every play, what would Herbert be? And I think he's a talent. I think he's doing great things with the Chargers. But again, Test said it himself there. It wouldn't matter who's quarterback. Look, to me, what Tua's doing is miraculous. The dude has the worst statistical offensive line in football, yet he's sacked fourth least. That's amazing. Like, he's getting annihilated every play, yet he still gets rid of the ball and doesn't take sacks. That alone says a lot about Tua. But when your line is this bad, you can't run, you can't throw, what the hell is any quarterback supposed to do? Brett, you've talked about this a lot. The offensive line coach is as big an issue with the Dolphins as any. What changes are you looking for as a guy who deals with this organization and the NFL for the Dolphins to make this offseason? Because that has been their issue for 2 decades. Chris Greer's put a lot of draft capital and free agency dollars toward the offensive line, and it's gotten worse somehow.
Okay, so back to what you guys were just discussing. Hindsight's 20/20, and it always is. And there's a reason why, it's called the draft, and it's sort of like the expression. That's why they call it fishing, not catching.
Yeah.
Because you're never guaranteed. Just having a number 1 pick or a number 5 pick over a 6 pick doesn't assure that you're going to make the right choice, or that the guy you're picking is going to pan out, or that he's going to stay healthy, or a variety of other factors. And, again, as it relates to Tua, his grade is incomplete. I think he's shown enough this year for sure to where the team doesn't feel like it's absolutely mandatory to make a change. I think you can try to build around him. I think you can try to give him more protection and, again, establish a better running game. And, again, that all comes sort of back to the offensive line. But, again, in the case of Herbert, nobody could know he was going to be this good. And so I'm not in any way pointing a finger at the Dolphins. I mean, I didn't know that Herbert would be better than Tua. Nobody did. Nobody could. Nobody could certainly expect that Herbert would be what he is, which, again, he certainly looks like if I had to pick if I had to pick, a quarterback to be my team for the next 15 years, it's either going to be Herbert or Joe Burrow. Yeah. So, I mean, nobody could have known, though, that he would do what he's done. So, you just kind of have to allow time to sort of play out a little bit. And the Dolphins have done some very good things this year as it relates to Greer. The question is, Lubie, just because he's the general manager, that title doesn't necessarily mean the same thing from one team to another. And so you have to figure out who's ultimately the final decision maker. And, it's very obvious that the coaching staff here on this team has a lot of influence as it relates to who comes and who goes. So, that's for Stephen Ross to figure out. And, again, it hasn't been a total loss of the season. what looked like it was going to be a historically bad season down here ended up amazingly being a season that came down to the second to last week of this team making a legitimate playoff run. And once you get to the playoffs, who knows? So, it wasn't a complete disaster of a season, but it really does make it clear, I would think, what areas of the team need to be bolstered and built upon.
That's why they call it gambling and not winning. I guess would also fit the scenario that you laid out earlier there with those items in a series. Brett Telsey, the agent of the stars, with us here on Ion Channel, the Defo Show. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubitz. Brett's presence brought to you by Will and Trust attorney, estate planner, Mr. Michael D. Wild. I have to admit, I don't know. I got a little teary-eyed last night watching Big Ben, final home game, Heinz Field. And you're thinking, this guy was in the league 18 years. We all believe that when they open up the time capsule on the human race in this era of time, that they'll find only two things survived in the long term after a nuclear war, and that was the cockroach and Ben Roethlisberger. Because he's been indestructible. Now, a shell of himself, it seems, from what he was in his swashbuckling Super Bowl winning days, but still alive for the playoffs. And it was, a very moving moment, I thought, when he got in there for that final kneel down after the interception in the game last night. Very symbolic.
Yeah. I think we're all a shell of ourselves and what we used to be. But he has had.
Not you, my friend. You're rolling, kid.
Unfortunately, Father Time is undefeated for everybody except Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And the reality is, Roethlisberger has had a great Hall of Fame career. It's kind of unfortunate that he played during the era of guys like Brady, Breeze, Rodgers, Manning, because, those are four of the all-time best of the best. And the fact that you would have that kind of talent in one generation, it was just absolutely mind-blowing. And so Roethlisberger clearly was not in their class, but certainly in a class of his own, Hall of Famer by any measure, champion, just the perfect quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers over the last however many years. So, congrats to him on everything he's done and, whatever's left of his career.
Going back to week number one, Aaron Rodgers, he looks like the guy sitting on the park bench on the cover of the Jethro Tull album, Aqualung, disheveled, decrepit, not even close to a semblance of himself. All that turmoil in the offseason. The Packers get crushed like a grape by the New Orleans Saints, who we're now anointing as a team that's going to the Super Bowl. And here he is. I guess most people feel, I don't know what your thought is on this. It's either going to be Rodgers or Brady, with the nod going right now to Rodgers to be the MVP in the league. And Green Bay clearly looks to be a superior team now with the first round bye and 2 games that have to go through what should be. You were just in Wisconsin. What's it like just to go outside there, to break up some firewood? It can't be easy to play football there if you're a visitor. Although, there are teams from the Midwest. But how good are the Green Bay Packers by comparison to everybody else, in your opinion? And did they just pave their way to the Super Bowl by getting the home field advantage in the bye week in the first round of the playoffs?
What that team has done this season is just nothing short of amazing. And what Aaron Rodgers has done throughout his entire career. I'm going to tell you this, Defo, and, as somebody who became an agent because of my love of football. And, I started following football closely in the early 80s. And so, I was raised on Montana, Marino, Elway, Kelly, those guys. I'm going to tell you right now, Dave, Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback of all time. And, as great as Brady has been, he's the ultimate champion, the ultimate winner, certainly no slouch. I have no problem calling Brady to GOAT, what people call him Brady to GOAT. But the reality is, when you look at Rodgers' efficiency, when you look at the numbers he's put up with the lack of interceptions, it's just utterly mind-blowing. And again, he's done it in a division where you're playing in places like Wisconsin and some of those other cold weather areas. So he's the best I've ever seen. And he's really carried that team. And Brady has benefited throughout the last 20 years from superior coaching, superior teams around him, superior everything. And so, if you want to judge someone based on wins, then yes, Brady's the GOAT, hands down. But if you just want to look at the skill set, the body of work, the statistics, everything else, there's nobody who's done it like Rodgers. And I'm not going to lie, after that first week this season, I was like, is it over? Is he just checked out? Is he washed up? And boy, I mean, what he's gone on to do since, it's just, I mean, words really can't describe just the level this guy plays.
Well, who was scouting for the Dolphins at the time when they took Ronnie Brown with the number 2 pick? My God, I mean, that's a move beyond bozoic proportions in hindsight, but I don't know that it really took any great insight at the time to say, let's take a shot with this kid from California who is still playing at the highest. And obviously, I don't know how close the race is going to be for MVP, but you would have to say that Rodgers probably right now the favorite. Brady has more yards and more touchdown passes, but you mentioned it, the efficiency. It's kind of like, I know you're a big boxing fan, Floyd Money Mayweather, for as much criticism as he took, an extremely accurate puncher. He never missed, and that seems to be the way that Aaron Rodgers has played the game. And unfortunately, he could have been in the Dolphins uniform all of this time. All right, Brett Tesser, the agent of the Stars, week 18 on tap. How weird is that? Number one, and what are you zeroing in on? I mean, what do you see as a main focal point here? Is there are still positions to be decided in terms of playoff berths, and also, I guess, still alive for the number 1 seed in the AFC. Somebody still has a shot to win that.
Yeah. A couple final playoff spots here coming into this last week, but this past weekend, the one that just ended was the one that, to me was the most intriguing, because this was the one where it could have went a lot of different ways for a lot of different teams. And now that this has been resolved and the Minnesotas are out of it, and, some of the other teams, Miami, Cleveland, some of the other teams that were sort of hanging on the fringe, the picture's become a lot more clear now. But the thing from this last weekend that really shocked me the most was my client, Greg Joseph on the Vikings, hitting the longest field goal in Lambeau history.
Wow.
In January.
Missed that
one. And I was shocked. I mean, it was a 51-yarder, but the reality is, I mean, Lambeau's been around for a long time, and there's been a lot of great kickers on the Packers, guys like Chris Jackie, guys like Mason Crosby. And, you think about all the great kickers that have come in there and kicked against them. It's shocking to me that the record was only 47 yards, and Greg Joseph ended up breaking that record, hitting that 51-yarder. And, talking to him after the game, he told me that it literally felt like kicking a brick. And between that, he said that, in that kind of weather, in that kind of temperature, that between that field goal, the extra point, and 2 kickoffs, his kicking foot after the game was literally twice the size of his other foot.
Oh, wow.
And
holy Lou Groza. Yeah. Hey, well, you remember what it was like. I mean, you're playing football in the cold, and every now and then you would, try a field goal, or, try to kick one off. And, it's like any time that you're waiting for, some doctor to do something invasive where you're thinking, this is going to hurt.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty good stuff. Now,
he sucked it up and he nailed it. Yep.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I have any Lambeau record, especially something of that distinction, I think is, quite an accomplishment. All right, Brett, always a pleasure, my friend. 2022, I would imagine, is going to be a very happy, healthy, and prosperous one for you and all of your clients and your family. And we're glad you were able to join us here on our first program, our live program of the new year. And always a pleasure. Michael D. Wild, I mean, I can't tell you, it keeps popping up. My mom passed away in June now of last year. So that's over 6 months ago, or around 6 months ago. And there are still issues that were it not for Michael D. Wild would become very problematic in terms of settling her estate. I'm so happy that you recommended Michael D. Wild to me and my family.
Absolutely. You can reach him at southfloridawills.com, best estate planning attorney down here. And like you said, sometimes these issues aren't just one-time things. Sometimes they're things that need to be dealt with over the course of time. And when you reach out to Michael Wild, he's there for you from beginning to end. Reach out to him at southfloridawills.com. And before I run Deef, I need to wish my amazing daughter, Jordan, a happy 14th birthday.
Woo, 14.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The greatest little girl anybody could ask for. Straight A's, great athlete, just an absolute joy to us. So happy birthday to her. And again, happy New Year to everybody out there.
You're a great American, Brett Tesler. Thanks so much for joining us. Brett Tesler, the agent of the stars here, helping us wrap things up on this fine Tuesday on the Defo Show here on Ion Channel. Just Google the Defo Show. Tell your friends where to find us. It's always a lot of fun to hear from new people that have caught the show. Some people still under the impression that it was a lot easier just to punch up a radio dial to catch us. Now you get the video stream. And you said a few adjustments need to be made in this little setup here, Lubie, but I think it's going to be okay because... Well, first of all, with this chair, which is the wrong height, both my legs are asleep. Hopefully we didn't put you to sleep. We'll do it again tomorrow. Tony Segreto will join us. We go old school with Tony. Should have a lot of insight into behind the scenes at the Orange Bowl because he was a big part of the whole thing. And spectacular show. A bit of a dud of a game, though, especially if you were getting hammered with a black eye. Do I have a black eye from recommending that you take the 7 and a hook with Michigan? Not the most favorable of recommendations that I've made in my lifetime. But we can bury you again as we continue tomorrow here on the Defo Show. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, welcome back. Lubie, I'm Jeff Deforrest and all the people at Ion Channel, Jack and Amy and the whole crew over there, Brad Schiller. Appreciate all of your efforts, and we'll see you tomorrow at 7 in the a.m. as we leave you on that.
The time.
It's 9 o'clock.
Hey, bartender. Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.